Ladies and gentlemen, today Kamala Harris claims she's one of the key architects of the deal that released two of our prisoners held by Russia and Vladimir Putin. The key architect, really. We're going to talk about this because what did we give up? American citizens, innocent American citizens, continue to be used as bargaining chips by the Harris-Biden administration. And tonight you are less safe as a result of what Kamala Harris has done. Also, the Olympics in controversy again because of another agenda item that Kamala Harris puts forward, and that is that gender is fluid. You can change it, that there are not just men and women. There's all sorts of other sundry of so-called genders out there in the Olympics, letting men fight in women's sports. All of this, the controversy and the destruction and squashing of women's dreams. Ladies and gentlemen, the right side with Doug Billings is now upon you. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hey everybody, my name is General Mike Flynn, and I'm here to do a big shout out for my great friend and one of the best in the business, Mr. Doug Billings. Right side with Doug Billings, right side with Doug Billings. Doug is the future of the airwaves when it comes to independent broadcasters and podcasters. He is the new Rush Limbaugh. He's exactly what America needs right now, looking for honesty, looking for wisdom, looking for truth, looking for patriotism. Listen to Doug Billings at Right Side with Doug Billings. God bless you and God bless America, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are winning. We're winning, winning, winning. Welcome to the Right Side with Doug Billings. Are you ready?
We are not liberal snowflakes who melt away in the face of tragedy, adversity, and challenge. We are a covenant nation under God, and His divine providence is not dead and it's not gone. It is living within each and every one of you. And you will bring it to life in such a way that the world has never seen before. We never back down. We never give up. We march forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, we should all be grateful. Okay, first of all, on record, there are many reasons to be happy tonight. The release of the American hostages held by Vladimir Putin in a Russian jail cell, all good news, very much so. And I want to remind you all around social media, this kind of truth that we're going to talk about today is available to you. It's available on X. It's available on YouTube, on my website, dougbillings.us. And I ask that you go over there at some point this week, dougbillings.us. Click on it. We bring you the truth. We don't charge you for this program. I ask that you help me continue to bring the program to you by heading over to dougbillings.us and setting up a monthly recurring donation to the program. We are at your service. We walk, you and I, shoulder to shoulder in the endeavor to bring back our republic away from what we will be talking about today, as we always do. There it is, the website, dougbillings.us. They try to cancel us. They try to shut us down. I will never, ever charge you for this program. Just decide prayerfully so. What is it worth to you? What is the truth worth? What is intellectual maturity worth to you? What is it worth to understand what the real play in America is, the real state of play around the world? We bring it to you at dougbillings.us, and always a special thanks to Logan, the producer over there at the great place, worldofyoutube.com. Great organization, a great platform. Check it out. All sorts of truth tellers at worldviewtube.com. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, today, the hits just keep on coming for Kamala, and the hits aren't good. She claims that she's one of the architects of this plan that released Evan Gershkovich and Paul Wheland today. All right, first of all, we're on board. We're happy that these gentlemen are home tonight with their families. Absolutely so. It's part of, the American sense of pride, believe it or not, despite what Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and the Commune Socialist, formerly known as the Democrat Party, have been trying to do. The American exceptionalism, the American pride is still there, and we all take care of our own. So I'm grateful that they are back home with their families. It was all part of a sweeping prisoner exchange that was done just a few hours into the night, last night, overnight, and this morning. And it does nothing, I'm afraid, to create more safety for Americans. It does nothing to protect us when we travel abroad. In fact, it does nothing to protect us when we travel in this country, because thanks to the Harris administration, and that's what it really is now, right? We have to be forced to now, if she's their presumptive nominee, we're going to lay it right in her lap because of what they've done at the border, what Kamala Harris represented in her utter failure as the border czar. She was, in fact, ladies and gentlemen, she was and is the border czar. We have more people in this country who want to do us harm than we've ever had before. So kidnapping for a sweet deal, right, becomes now more and more likely, because what they did today was to bargain away innocent Americans for savage criminals. The message is Americans can be kidnapped for a price, and the people who don't like us hear this message loud and clear. The liberal policy in America, if you're a bad guy, hey, this policy under Harris, they're going to pay us. They're going to give our people back to us. They're going to get our operatives back. All we got to do is kidnap a few of them. It's the largest prisoner exchange since the end of the Cold War. 24 people in total are involved in this thing. But we've seen this before in America. We've seen Americans being taken hostage by radical governments, not released until those radical governments get a sweet deal. And the sweet deals usually always come from the liberal side of the aisle. They hold the prisoners, these aggressive, evil governments. Let's hold them. We got to wait until we get a liberal in the United States White House. Let's wait until we get a liberal, and then we'll get our sweet deal. Happened under Jimmy Carter's watch. Americans taken hostage in Iran. And as soon as Ronald Reagan is sworn in, Iran releases them. Same thing true in today's scenario. Vladimir Putin knows full well that he'd better make a deal pretty quickly, because once Trump is sworn in January, Putin's not going to get it. He's not going to get any kind of a sweet deal from Trump. And for all of the liberals out there who would be quick to point out, well, Trump didn't get these guys released when he was president, let me just remind them that these guys weren't sentenced until 2020. President Trump, unlike Kamala Harris, isn't in the business of using Americans as bargaining chips. Trump, he would exert economic pressure, manufacturing, military, financial pressure on Putin in conjunction with a coalition of other nations, and we'd get our people back without surrendering the people that Putin wants back. It's called the art of the deal. You've heard of this before. It's called Basic Negotiations 101. And President Trump would not in turn release people that will hurt us. He wouldn't let them into the country. He's not going to release them from jail once we've got them. And it's the difference of being strong versus being weak. And I understand when it's a member of your family who's in the clutches of a rogue or enemy nation, you want them back as quickly as possible, and you do anything you can. I'm always bolstered up by people who have relatives that are in prison, and they strongly say, do what you've got to do to get them out, but let's not sacrifice Americans. Let's not compromise American exceptionalism and American patriotism in return for getting criminals out of jail. Kamala Harris has now set precedent, ladies and gentlemen. She set a precedent whereby innocent Americans are going to be used as pawns and bargaining chips to secure the release of Russian criminals. And other nations are now going to be clamoring to get on that bandwagon. It makes it much more dangerous for Americans to travel anywhere. Abroad, Europe, Mexico, even in the United States, as I mentioned earlier. Because you'd better believe that there are people who have come across this border as a direct result of the Kamala Harris border czar failure, who are in this country making plans right now to kidnap Americans. They're also making plans, by the way, to do great damage with terror attacks in this country. We are at risk. We have never been at such a high risk in the history of this republic. And it is directly rooted in the border policies or lack thereof, that have been put forth by the Harris border czar failure. It should come as no surprise to anybody out there when we look at Kamala Harris and her record. This is what she's always been about. Kamala Harris is fond of releasing criminals from jail, ladies and gentlemen. She's done it before. She's also quite fond of not prosecuting violent criminals with extreme prejudice. Or if in the off chance she does prosecute them, she lets them out early because she's already assigned them very light sentences. She's made a career out of giving light sentences and early releases to the most abhorrent criminals in the United States. She did this in California, in Minnesota during 2020 when we had what the liberals called their summer of love, which was nothing short of anarchy in the cities that were run, led, and managed by members of that commune socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party. That summer, she set up, Kamala did, funding mechanisms online whereby these anarchists who were burning down Minneapolis, Seattle, Portland, other liberal cities as well. But if those anarchists were caught and captured, Kamala set up a funding mechanism by which she could have them released. Bail money. Get out of jail free, thanks to Kamala. That's her precedent. That's her record. And when the sugar high of this fake enthusiasm that surrounds her settles and ends, it's her record that she will have to address. She will not and cannot defend it with any sense of American pride, patriotism, not to mention intellectual maturity. It has been an absolute failure by any standard of measure. So imagine innocent American hostages in exchange for Russian war criminals, cyber attack masterminds, assassins, all were set free today by the Harris architectural design exchange deal. So the foreign policy debacles continue for Kamala Harris. She is not competent. She is not capable. She's got the war in Ukraine now to deal with that is precisely due to the fact that she cannot negotiate. Harris completely ignored what Vladimir Putin was saying about Ukraine and the nations over there that border Russia. For more than 30 years, Putin has been saying, hey, look, if you're going to put NATO member nations on my border, I'm not going to go for that. I'm not going to allow that to happen. And what does Kamala Harris do? She's already said she's in the room. She's the last one to leave the room when the plan was made. Let's make Ukraine a member of NATO. Let's give NATO membership to everybody over there. All of those countries that buttress right up and border Russia. Putin wasn't going to stand for it. Just think about that, ladies and gentlemen, for a minute. Why would Kamala Harris and her commune socialists, formerly known as Democrat Party, want to poke Vladimir Putin in the eye like that? What possible gain is there? Someone with a credible, someone with a proven record of being able to negotiate could have gone into the Ukraine, for example, and said, hey, look, Zelensky, excuse me. Mr. Zelensky, we'll have your back. We'll protect you. The United States is going to be right there for you. But you know what? Listen, hey, the thing is, we can't let you in NATO. I mean, don't worry. We can still protect you, and we will. But Putin's kind of, he's making a big stink about this. It's not prudent. It's not smart. It's going to lead to a conflict. If we do that for you, he's probably going to invade you. And you're looking at an invasion and loss of thousands, if not millions, of civilian lives and so forth and so on. And, that person who's saying those things to Zelensky would have been Donald Trump. And Donald Trump would have prevailed upon Zelensky, as he almost always does when it comes to the truth and the art of the deal and negotiations. Trump would have prevented this entire thing from happening. Ladies and gentlemen, you and I probably could have negotiated that deal because all it would have taken is a promise to Zelensky that we'll take care of him and then appeasing Putin by not making another NATO member nation right there on his border. What's the big deal there? It's so obvious. But Harris and Biden can't comprehend this, and they get us into this war And now we're spending trillions of dollars on this thing. And I could go on about how Biden's got vested interests in making sure that Ukraine is protected because of financial money laundering. I can go into all of those rabbit holes with you, many of which are probably true. But the point is, simple negotiations could have prevented all of that. So Kamala Harris thumbs her nose at Putin, and therefore, and thereby, we're in the current state of play over there in the Ukraine with Russia. And then earlier on in the Harris-Biden administration, you remember the exchange that we did. There was a Russian prisoner. This guy's a real beauty. He's a real piece of work. Victor Bout, the merchant of death, as he was known. We do an exchange, Biden, Harris. We got Brittany Griner. She's been captured over there. She's been captured because, she's an American female basketball player. She was captured. Russia knows that we're going to pay up. Putin knows that he can get a sweet deal if he can get a hold of these people. So Harris, Biden, what do? They negotiate a deal for one of the world's most dangerous arms dealers, someone who has sold weapons to countries who have hurt America and hurt our allies. The merchant of death, Victor Bout, released by Kamala Harris in exchange for the American Brittany Griner. We're happy. Look, any American, don't care whether you like Brittany personally or not, we're happy she's home. But the fact that they can't negotiate from a point of strength and instead opens up a point of weakness is exactly why we are in danger. All right, ladies and gentlemen, gone a little bit long here in this segment. Don't forget, head over to DougBillings.us, please. Head over to DougBillings.us, click on the donate tab, set up a monthly recurring donation so that I can continue to bring you this program and the truth that it represents. DougBillings.us. Have a good trip right now into the land of capitalism. I'll be right here when you get back. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that you could change the trajectory of your aging process? Look and feel better, live younger, be more active, less pain when you move around, sleep better, diminish the lines and the wrinkles on your face? Really? This is what I'm telling you. It's possible. You see, low stem cell activity happens when we get older. And it could be causing many of the health problems that some people have in the world today. Because as we get older, we have less stem cell activity, which means we age faster and we heal slower. The secret is a clinically proven and patented phototherapy non-transdermal patch, whose technology is the result of over 90 clinical studies and over 20 years of research. Your healthier life can begin today, and you can discover true age reversal. Age reversal, ladies and gentlemen. Please go to liveyoungerwithdoug.us. Liveyoungerwithdoug.us, ladies and gentlemen. Get over there today. Or if you'd like, text my name, Doug, to 41372. Doug, text it, 41372. And get over to liveyoungerwithdoug.us. Get younger, feel younger. I'm doing it. I'm wearing this patch. I feel great. And so will you. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. For the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
I want to tell you about the good people over at EMP Shield. Electromagnetic pulse, ladies and gentlemen. It can fry your home electrical system or your vehicle's electrical system. But if you attach one of these, now this is for your breaker box at home. There's a smaller version that goes on your battery of your car, your vehicle, that will prevent it from being fried in the event of an electromagnetic pulse. Because as you know, thanks to Administrator Biden, many people coming across the border now who don't exactly have the best of intentions. Protect yourself. EMPshield.com. Get huge discounts over there if you use the promo code Doug.
The Right Side with Doug Billings, pointing out the intellectual immaturity of liberals.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Right Side with Doug Billings. I appreciate you very much. Thanks for always being there for me. Thanks for having my back. We're talking today. Look, this again, everyone's very happy. We're glad that Evan and Paul are back home with their families. It's all a good deal. But we have to also understand that the danger American citizens are in around the globe is a real threat. It's a real danger, and we do not end that threat by making deals with Vladimir Putin that give him criminals back. We've got to be able to take a tough stand. I know it's a difficult stand to take, but we've got to be able to do it. Kamala Harris fails to recognize and realize that in order to stop the kidnappings of innocent Americans throughout the world, she has got to stop using Americans as bargaining chips for the release of these Russian assassins, cyber attack masterminds, and any other kind and form of criminal that Russia has lost. They get these people back and they continue. It's classical liberal weakness. That's what it is. We stop the kidnapping and imprisonments when we take a strong stance against Putin. And it's a talking point for the liberals to try to switch, as they usually do. They mix lies with the truth or just tell outright lies. Trump's a Russian asset. Remember, Russia, Russia, Russia. He's working with them. Okay, so we know that this is all BS, and we know that that's not true. But they still use it as part of their talking point. They use it as an excuse to continue to weaken America. So instead of being able to sleep well at night, Americans right now throughout the world are not safe. They're prone to be the target of evil people. They're targets of people who do not like us. And they're targets of people who know they can get a sweet deal if they kidnap Americans. So this is the world that the radical liberal mob is creating and cheering right now. This coalition of immorality is represented by the Liberal Party in America and around the world for that matter. Ironically enough, I might add, on a side note, Putin will have nothing to do with the woke liberal agenda that's filtering its way through the world. He will have none of it. There is no wokeness in Russia. And like him or hate him, and I'm not painting Putin as any kind of a good guy, believe me, but he's doing what a leader of a country should do, shutting off his borders, making his country great, ending the woke agenda, and saying out loud that the radical liberal agenda that is sweeping the planet is a danger. It's an invasion that allows for the destruction of societies. At least he's saying that to his credit. But the Liberal Party in America, let me just say, America displays itself, if you will, with a sense of pride when we see people come home. We understand the value of this. We get it. We don't want anyone to be captured. We want to do everything possible. But we also understand that certain mechanisms that are dangerous to us, it degenerates, it disintegrates, it dilutes our strength. It puts us in a position of weakness. If we are held to the standard of, well, look, we'll give you your innocent Americans back, but we need our violent criminals back in exchange for that. That is putting us in a position of weakness. It's also stupid to do that. Most people know this. So those are my thoughts on this hostage situation. I'm glad they're home. Evan, Paul, welcome home. Glad you're with your families. Sorry that you had to go through all of this. These words are empty compared to what you've been through. I understand that. I'm trying to encourage the nation to see that there are ways by which we can be stronger, we can do better. And we do not negotiate with terrorists, whether that terrorist is Vladimir Putin or the terrorist is some other rogue member of a nation or a group who does not like us. We've got to be strong. This whole thing also seeps its way into other aspects of American life, from our society to the way that we do business, even the way that we engage in sports. It's all affected by the woke liberal agenda and how they approach humankind, what their worldview is. First of all, it's vacant of God. They don't believe in any of that, so they have no traditional moral standard. And I'm not pretending to define what your morals are for yourself, but I'm just saying as a platform of just basic morality, it's beyond just being nice to each other. That's not the morality I'm talking. The morality that I'm talking about is based in the belief that we have a creator, and that creator has endowed us with certain unalienable rights. The liberal coalition of immorality strives to display itself with regards to this concept, the degradation of human rights, the abandonment of human dignity. They claim that they're all about human dignity. Ladies and gentlemen, when you take a strong, intense, analytical look at liberalism, they do everything in their power to destroy human dignity. There is no human dignity, for example, in what's going on at our southern border. Oh, yes, there is. We're welcoming everybody in. We're the nation of immigrants. No, don't you know this, Doug? Look at what it says right there. The Statue of Liberty represents, we'll take your huddled masses. We want to welcome everybody in because it helps expand and bolster up human dignity. Nonsense. Evidence of the obvious is sufficient. Just look. There is no human dignity in what is happening at the southern border. And there is no human dignity as a result of any of the catastrophe that we've seen over the last 4 years with regards to the Biden-Harris domestic policy or their foreign policy. It does not exist. In fact, we are at a higher risk right now for violence and for terrorism than we've ever been. There is no higher issue than our border issue. It shadows everything, and it is directly responsible for the very fact that we even talk about election fraud and integrity these days. Let me set this up for you with regards to the liberal agenda in society and sports and so forth. Let me give you a brief refresher course, ladies and gentlemen. Professor Doug here. Let me give you a brief refresher course on basic human biology, for example. All right. Now go with me on this. Your science class. You're back in 7th or 8th grade, right? So liberals talk a lot about convincing us to trust the science. Would you please just trust the science? That mask is going to prevent you from getting sick. Right. As if the mask was ever part of what had to do anything about your health, right? It was not. The mask was political signaling all the way along. The mask is now part of the uniform of the Communist Socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party. But trust the science. Liberals always, that's their mantra. Trust the science. So remember, 7th and 8th grade, you're sitting there. You're sitting there in Mr. Smith's physiology class or biology class. You're talking about human beings and human physiology, human anatomy. You learn that human beings are comprised of 2 genders. You're born either a man or a woman. Pretty simple. And these genders have within them certain sets of chromosomes. Females have what they call the double X, the XX chromosome. Females, that's them. Males have the XY chromosome. Pretty simple. Men, women. XX, XY chromosomes. Mr. Smith, 7th and 8th grade biology, physiology. Remember? You also learned there are no exceptions to that. None. Male or female. That's it. There are no other genders. We've been taught that. We know that. It's been that way since the beginning of humanity. And it's been designed by God. And when God saw us, you remember the story, in the glory of all that he created, he looks at us, he looks at creation, looks what he's done, and he says, it is good. And so it is. It is good. Folks, the radical left liberal coalition of immorality puts out stuff like binary. Ladies and gentlemen, there's no such thing as binary people. Oh, there's this thing, there's this category called cisgender. What the heck? There is no such thing as cisgender people, ladies and gentlemen. None. It does not exist, except in the mental ill minds of the radical left liberal mob. Those are just a couple of the terms. We could go on, right? But they spew these things forth. And what they do, and the real evil of this, is that they try to convince children to believe in these things. It's evil, it's demonic, and it leads to children growing up and having their worlds torn apart, their dreams shredded, and their psychological health damaged many times permanently. Oh, Johnny doesn't feel as if he's been gender appropriated correctly. He's unhappy about it. He's 10 years old. What we need to do is give him permission to mutilate his genitalia, and that'll make Johnny happy. Let's just transition him by doing that. And ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for that language. That's brutal, gross language. We're adults. It needs to be said. They add mutilating their genitalia because that's the way to happiness. That's the way to find wonder, joy, and meaning in this life. When we come back, I want to juxtapose all of this, our biology lesson and the evil coalition of immorality, against what happened in the Olympics today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, stay with me. I'll be right back after this break. Cheers.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Hey, consider going to mypillow.com right now and get your pet a pet bed, just like my beloved Delta has right here in my office. Not only can you get pet beds, but you can get sheets, towels, blankets, and so much more. Slippers, sandals, robes, beach towels. It just goes on and on. But please, go to mypillow.com and be sure to use the promo code B66. When you do, not only will you receive savings, but a generous percentage of each purchase comes back to continue supporting this 24/7 free broadcast outlet. We need your support. Hey, look, we're entrepreneurs, just like my friend Mike Lindell. We all need your support, and you're getting quality products at the same time. So please, go to mypillow.com and use the promo code B66. Mike always has amazing specials going right there at MyPillow. So check out whatever those specials might be today. You never know. Mike's always changing it up and making new offers right there at mypillow.com. But be sure to use the promo code B66.
The Right Side with Doug Billings, where we meet in determined prayer and determined patriotism.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. The Right Side with Doug Billings. Hey, reminding you, you want to check out this event that we're going to have in Branson, Missouri, September 27th and 28th. I want you to head over to a website called determinedpatriotismconference.com. Determinedpatriotismconference.com. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a 2-day conference where some of the most premier tier 1 speakers, podcasters, and influencers in America will join us. It's part a motivational conference, but it's also educational, learning how to get involved in our local levels of government. You can get all of the information you need, tickets, there's hotels available for you. We set it all out. We're going to go 2 days, Branson, Missouri, September 27th and 28th. We're going to go to a show on Friday night. You can't go to Branson and not go to a show. And have we got a beauty lined up for you? And then Saturday night, after it's all done, a dinner together, and then in between, speakers. And this list of speakers is growing by the week, so continue to check in. determinedpatriotismconference.com. Only 500 tickets available. Make sure you get yours today or soon at determinedpatriotismconference.com. All right, so the radical liberal agenda and the way that it tries to redefine what human beings really are, one of the most irritating and evil and demonic platform items that is a part of what I call this coalition of immorality. Children growing up, dreams ripped apart, a false sense of the pursuit of wonder, joy, and meaning and happiness in this life, because we try to convince, or the radical left tries to convince them, that you can become happy. You can find wonder, joy, and meaning in life if you would simply transition into something else, be called something else. And if we expand what gender really means and all of this nonsense. So I want to bring up a case in point. It happened today, so this is relevant. And it's an example of what this, again, coalition of immorality puts forth. Specifically within the Olympic women's boxing team, there's a woman from Italy, Angela Cerini, and she's a female boxer. Okay. She was born, ladies and gentlemen, remember your biology class with Mr. Smith, 7th and 8th grade. Angela was born with the XX chromosome. That means she's a female, right? I'm not making fun of her. That's the truth. God bless her. You might have seen the pictures of Angela. You might have seen some of this. I'm going to show you a clip in just a minute. Then we have Imani Khalif. Now, Imani is an Algerian man who was born with the XY chromosomes. Now, the radical liberal left says, no, wait a minute. He identifies as a woman. I mean, he's a woman, but he has this disorder that creates the XY chromosomes with him. Ladies and gentlemen, that's nonsense. Look, the simple truth is if your body creates the XY chromosome, you're a man. Basic biology. The XX chromosome equals women. The XY chromosome equals a man. You can't get any simpler than that. It's one way or the other. Now, take a look. Let me set this up. So, Angela Cerini, woman, Imani Khalif is a man. They're in the boxing rink. It only lasts a few seconds because Angela realizes, wow, she takes a hit and she's going, what? This is a man. And she knows, I mean, it's not a secret. This guy's a man. He's being allowed to compete in a woman's sport. She takes a hit. She says no. It only lasted a few seconds. Take a look. Here's the clip.
من الإيطالية أيضا أبوندون هكذا تفوز إيمان خليف. المهم الفوز بالنسبة لإيمان خليف والدخول بقوة ودخول موفق المنازلات هذا الدور
Now you see, that's heartbreaking. What you see there is a biological man pummel a biological woman. The woman gets hit. She realizes I risk either serious injury or death if I remain. And she breaks down at the end there and she falls to her knees. This is what the radical left coalition of immorality does to women. Robbing this woman of a lifelong pursuit of this Olympic dream. And I know many of you boycotting the Olympics, and I'm one of them. I hear this, I see it in the news, and I'm commenting. But look, this is reality, and it happened today, and it's absolutely infuriating. It's beyond infuriating. The Olympic Committee, in all of that demonic intent and so forth that we've seen since the opening celebration, if you want to call it that, allows this man, born with the XY chromosomes, to step into a boxing ring and be allowed to pummel a woman born a woman with the XX chromosomes. It's not right. And for liberals, men assaulting women is fine, I guess, as long as it's done in the context of sports. Let's align men up with women and have them beat the heck out of each other because it's crazy. It makes no sense. But it's okay because he identifies as a woman. And so there's no way they can explain that this is right. And the Olympics is either going to crumble as a result of this, or they're going to have to change. And they're going to have to recall this. They're going to have to reset this match and do away with the fact that this is a man and a woman's sport. I'm not condemning any human being who wants to compete. Any human being, man, woman, or this thing that was in the ring today. But let them get their own league. If these men who think they're women want to compete, let them start their own league and compete amongst themselves. The liberals who are desperate to find reason to discredit anybody on the planet understands that they cannot win this argument. They cannot discredit the truth. And the truth is, this was a man against a woman. They'll say, oh, but that disorder, Doug, you're being too judgmental. What are we going to do? She's a woman, but she creates the XY chromosome. It's a man. If your body does it, look, it's insanity to think anything else. If you're not a female, you're a man. There is no in between. There's no other, gradient, somehow sliding scale of what that means. If your body creates the XY chromosome, your body is that of a man. It all reminds me, talking about Olympics, right? You can't help but think of this story and not think about the Bruce Jenner story. There's no amount of surgery, there's no amount of hormone therapy that anybody can go through that will transition them from one gender to another. All you're talking about is cosmetics. Hypothetically, go with me on this for a minute. If in 300 years, hypothetically, if in 300 years archaeologists unearth the bones of Bruce Jenner, they'll analyze them in the laboratory and make the result known. We found the bones of a man. They wouldn't find the bones of a woman. And so here we are in a world where a very small segment of the population, 0.08% to be exact, of the entire world's population, believe that human biology can be altered so as to change a human gender. Now, this group of kooks is a very, very small minority in the world. But they have a very loud voice, and they are militant in their approach to getting their way with this. They're not even a blip on our radar screen if we would just look at the numbers. But because they have the media and certain segments of the celebrity class and the elected class, they become a loud voice. But they don't occupy anything remotely similar to what would be described as a measurable section of our population. I'm telling you, because of this controversy, because of what we saw today, the support of the Olympics is going to crumble, and you're going to see vast amounts of support for the very issue of banning men from women's sports. They will buckle under this. They have pushed it too far, and the Olympics is going to be forced to admit the truth. There are men and there are women. Men have the XY chromosome, women have the XX chromosome. Mr. Smith's biology class, 7th and 8th grade. Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. And the ability to participate in the Olympics is going to be finally and definitively defined as true female and true male sporting categories. And those categories will be determined by human biology, not from the radical left woke kookdom of this transgender or LGBTQ kook community that tries to spew and force their worldview and perspectives and way of life upon us. There is mental illness in the world. Transgenderism or gender misappropriation, all of that nonsense is put forth by people who are victims of that mental illness. And while we have a great amount of concern and we want to help them recover their minds from that illness, we cannot, in the meantime, allow them to prevail upon us to put women's lives in danger by putting men in those sports. You saw her crumble to the floor, that Angela Sereni. And it was a painful and unnecessary loss and surrender of her dreams. And it was forced upon her ultimately by a woke liberal agenda. That's what I mean when I say they do nothing to enhance human dignity. They have done everything to take it away from us. What she experienced in that boxing ring has nothing to do with human dignity. It has everything to do with human dignity being ripped away. More on this when we come back. Ladies and gentlemen, please remember DougBillings.us. Head over there, DougBillings.us. Click on that donate tab and set up a monthly recurring donation for us. If you want to talk about any of this, by the way, phone lines are always open. 901-316-8404. 901-316-8404. I would be happy and I'd be interested to know what your thoughts are on the hostage situation and about this Olympic men and women's sports issue that we're talking about. I'll be right back after this break. Cheers.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Melissa and I have been taking Bella Grace, this powerful elixir, since last fall, 2023. The results have been amazing. My hands would crack and bleed, deep cuts and cracks every winter for years. No matter what we did, we couldn't get them to stop cracking and bleeding. This year, I took Bella Grace, no cracking, no bleeding. My acid reflux, gone. Haven't had to take a Pepsid. My hair growth, the last 2 times I had my hair cut, the lady had to use thinning shears on my hair. That's amazing. We've also received incredible feedback from you, our listening audience, and the impact it's had for you. This is loaded with astaxanthin. That's a powerful antioxidant. Collagen, but top grade collagen. Studies show 95% of it is being absorbed in the body because of the way they develop it. Then we have something called cat's claw. That's an anti-inflammatory from a vine in Peru. It's the bark, and it's an anti-inflammatory. There are about 80 clinical trials on Bella Grace. Please get a subscription now and save. MelissaHouseBG.com. We live in uncertain times. In fact, we live at a time when our own governments all over the world are warning us that there could be big problems with our power grid. World War III seems to be right on the horizon. Let me ask you this. Do you have a satellite phone? Should communications go down with cell towers? Do you have a satellite phone to get a hold of that college student or your spouse who travels, whatever it might be, to get a hold of your senior adult parents? We have satellite phones at worldviewtalk.com, and you get the satellite phone for free when you sign up for their very reasonable payment programs for the service. Sign up for the service with a reasonable contract, get the satellite phone for free. Worldviewtalk.com. You'll also find they have, well, what I now have, which is a solar generator. Yeah, I have a gas generator, an LP propane generator, but what if that goes down? I want to back up to my backup. So I now have a solar generator as well. You'll find them at worldviewtalk.com. Check it out today, worldviewtalk.com.
The Right Side with Doug Billings, where we meet in determined prayer and determined patriotism.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Thanks very much for being with me. We walk shoulder to shoulder in this endeavor to reclaim our republic from the grip of the communist socialist, formerly known as Democrat, and their coalition of immorality. I was just looking on the text line I saw over on X. I was posting some things today. You know, just further proof here that Kamala Harris is part of this vast coalition of immorality. Under her leadership and the administration that she represents, the FDA has recommended approving puberty blockers to minors, despite noting that these drugs are associated with an increased risk of depression and suicidality. So look, it's a mental illness, and Kamala Harris is pushing this upon the culture. It's their agenda. There's no going back from it for them. They can't, because that's what they've promised. Puberty blockers to children. It's again, there's no better term. Coalition of immorality. Evil, despicable, abhorrent. That's what Kamala Harris and that whole party of hers represents. So again, just during that break, taking a look over there, and we're talking about this very thing, about how they have corrupted, or they're trying to corrupt, an entire republic, an entire world. And we talked about that in relation to what happened at the Olympics today. Angela Sereni falling to her knees, tears on that deck of the boxing ring, right? Think about it. She's lived her life pursuing athletic excellence and exceptionalism, pursuing the representation of her country in a sport, trying to realize her dreams and the goals that she's had undoubtedly since she was a girl. All of these things, the dreams, the goals, the love of country, athleticism, competition, crushed by the woke liberal agenda and the liberal coalition of immorality, crushing this woman's dreams. How have women around the country and around the world not risen up in abject arms against this is beyond me. And I know you're all upset about it. There she is, Angela. And look what she's up against. You telling me one of these things don't look like the other, right, folks? One of these, this is the woman, this is the biological woman, and she's going up against this thing that looks, I mean, it's a man. Ladies and gentlemen, look at this thing. Look. Man, right there. It is absolutely right there in front of us. And the Olympics and the radical left coalition of immorality don't let you escape. They absolutely put this upon us. It is all on them. It's impossible to deny the truth that we see. It's the woke. And by the way, ironically enough, it's not science. This is not a woman. It's not scientific. It's a man. We all know it. And it's insane. And it's partly how this is their operation. This is what they do. You know, everyone in this life, we believe as conservatives, we have rights that come to us from God. Now that, even saying that, drives the liberal woke mob crazy because they don't believe in God. But that's a simple precept. It's in our founding documents. We believe that we have a right to pursue happiness in this life. And happiness means a lot of things. It means finding wonder in this life, finding joy, finding happiness through relationships and interacting with other people. And it also revolves around finding truth in this life. And the liberals are famous for finding ways to rob people of their ability to pursue happiness. And they'll package it up and put a bow on it and make it look like they're trying to protect you and give you rights. But they're taking them away. And they do this, and what falls off the scale, if you will, what falls away from humanity is the dignity that's given to us by God himself. And we could talk about abortion. We could talk about women and men competing in women's sports. We could talk about the southern border. We could talk about almost any agenda item on the radical liberal list of agenda items, and we would find at its core what it does is strip us of our dignity. Free stuff, entitlements. We're going to give you all sorts of freebies. You don't have any more college debt. We're going to take that away. How does that bolster up and build anyone's human dignity? It does not. It robs them of it. It robs them of it because within that debt that they have, people learn how to work and pay it off. There's a certain character, a human character that's built up. And when we build up human character by overcoming the challenge of debt, in this example, it could be any challenge that we face in life. But when we meet challenges and when we overcome them, it builds our character. It makes us more resilient in the future, and it makes us more able to realize the wonder, the joy, and the meaning that God has intended us to discover in this life. When you take all of the challenge away, when you take adversity away, challenge and tragedy, I'm sorry to say it takes away your ability to grow as a person. It robs you of the chance to discover and develop your human dignity. What happens when they take away the dignity of having a job, for example? Remember during COVID, we're going to give you money. Don't worry about it. Just stay home. Their goal was not to make you comfortable on your front porch. The goal was to crush and wreck economies around the world so that people would then have to turn to the government for help because they want the government, the big brother, to be the one that takes care of you. They want to keep you enslaved to the entitlements they offer you, and therefore and thereby you become more apt, perhaps, to vote for them. If you vote for us, we're going to give you free stuff. Just become lazy, sit on the front porch, continue to drink your adult beverages, and just relax. No more need to go to work. No more need to work hard, build something that you're proud of, and have the dignity that goes along with that. Dignity stands in the way of the radical left agenda. We cannot have that. They don't need dignity. They don't need anything. They don't need God. They need us. They need the state to take care of it. We can look at abortion the same way. Oh, you've taken away the right of a woman to choose, which is nonsense at its core, abject nonsense. The women in this country still have a right to choose abortion, I'm sorry to say, but that's the truth. They can go to Kansas and get an abortion. They can go to any number of states and get an abortion. They did not take away the right to choose. What they did was return the decision to make abortion legal or not to the states, which is precisely what the Founding Fathers intended. And by the way, the Founding Fathers were inspired by God to write that. I, for one, believe that the Founding Fathers were inspired by God to write our founding documents. So look, if God intended, by virtue of what the Founding Fathers wrote, that the rights that we must pursue are arrived and derived in the state level, then so be it. Life is a winning issue for conservatives. We become too frightened of the term abortion, and we let the other side bully and beat us down to where we think, oh, we're almost embarrassed to bring it up. We shouldn't be. It's a winner for us. Talk about protecting women and holding fathers accountable to their role as fathers, protecting the woman, protecting the child, protecting and believing in the dignity and, in fact, the divine spark and dignity that is within all human life. It's a winner for us. It's the moral high ground. No more spinning. Look, Kamala owns all of this now. She's the presumptive nominee. And by the way, it remains to be seen if she'll end up being the nominee, by the way. This is not a foregone conclusion for her. They've got a convention coming up in the middle of this month, and it will be interesting to watch. And I wouldn't be surprised. I know that all of the world is clamoring, and that in the world of liberalism, they're all clamoring on a sugar high about Kamala. And it's not surprising, because when you had a man on death's door, the crypt keeper who can barely walk and talk as your candidate, Kamala Harris seems like something out of the next world, right? Wow, look at that. That's all we ever need right there. Why didn't we choose her in the first place? Never mind, just 3 years ago, nobody liked her. And the news is, ladies and gentlemen, the truth is nobody likes her now. The sugar high that you're going to see is going to lead. What happens when kids are on a sugar high? Parents, what happens? They crash. That's what's going to happen to the radical liberal left. We'll see. But the radical liberal agenda, its attack on human dignity, its attack on American safety abroad and here in this country, we point it out and we tell you the truth. And if you want to continue to see and hear the truth, I encourage you, please consider prayerfully. Pray about it. Head over to DougBillings.us. If you like me, if you like this show and what it represents, that's how I continue to bring it to you. And it does mean that I stand shoulder to shoulder with you, and I need and depend on those donations. So prayerfully, think about it at DougBillings.us. Get over there and set up a monthly recurring donation so that I can continue to be with you, deliver the truth, and the only kind of truthful analysis that you'll see about the state of play in America and around the world with regards to our conservative approach to reclaim the divine providence of God and, in America, the true intent of the Founding Fathers. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you every Monday through Friday, 5 to 6 o'clock Central Time, right here. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe and follow. The same on X, on Facebook, on Rumble. And again, please check out worldviewtube.com and the great platform of podcasters and content that's over there. And thanks again also to the people at Spreely TV. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, believe it, for the Republic. Cheers.
We live in uncertain times. In fact, we live at a time when our own governments all over the world are warning us that there could be big problems with our